All right, looks like we're recording. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so Eric had a question about the worksheet. How do you calculate the standard deviation? So this will be, here, I'll say it that way. This will be a question that will be more of the computer part, okay? Now the first question is, do you remember what the formula was? I actually will hand out a formula sheet. I didn't hand one out today, but I'll hand you a formula sheet. So if you wanted to look it up, it should be in the back of your book, that fold-out thing. So you need to get familiar with those to make sure this thing here. So it's in chapter 3, and from group data. So here, let me write it on the board so we at least have it here. Okay. The formula is sigma or S. Let's see, did we decide this was a sample or a population? Sample. That's probably what it's going to be. S equals square root of the sum of xi minus x bar. Well, they both use mu. That's interesting. Mu squared. The formula is the same. Times f sub I all over sum of f sub I minus 1. Okay, so that's the formula we're going to be using. So if you'll have that on Thursday. Okay. All right. So now, the question is, how do we apply that to this data? Okay. So we need to find the midpoint. Okay. So now, just to make sure that you guys are clear, if I use the midpoint of 10 to 11.99, 10 plus 11.99 divided by 2, that gives me 10.995, where if I go 10 to 12, it's going to be 11. Okay? So when you're doing these, make sure that you're going from the beginning of this to the beginning of that. It'll put your calculations off just a little bit. Okay? So 11, this will be 13, 15, etc. Okay? So now, xi minus x. So my mean, okay, we do need to find out our thing here. I'm going to change that to be, well, let's see, we need the product here. So before we can figure this out, we need to get the product. So it's going to be 11 times 6. So we will copy that down. Okay. Now we're going to add that up. And we're going to add up our frequency. And so before we can figure out our standard deviation, we need to figure out our mean. So the mean in this case, you know how to find that, Eric?
Divided by the frequency.
The 592 divided by the 40. So your mean is going to be 14.8. Okay? Got to figure that out first before you can even start worrying about standard deviation. Okay? All right, so now if we go xi minus x bar, do you know what to do here? I've got mu in my formula here, but either way, mu and x bar in this case are exactly the same because we use the same formula. So say it again.
So you're going to be dividing or subtracting the midpoint from the mean.
Yeah, we're going to take the midpoint minus the mean, and I'm going to F4 the second one so that it always subtracts off that same mean, right? I will copy that down. Okay, and then According to my formula, I need to square that and multiply it by the frequency, right? So if I take this, I'm going to square it, and I'm going to multiply it by what?
40?
No,
Oh, 6.
6. Yes, I'm going to multiply it by that. Do I need to F4 any of these? No. Okay. So I'm going to copy that down. Okay, so now I've got almost the numerator. What's the last step I need to do for my numerator? Find the sum. So the sum of this column here, that's my numerator, 406.4. Now we're going to divide that by the sum of my frequency minus 1. That's going to give me the variance, right? So I'm going to take this 406, I'm going to divide it by 40 minus 1, which is 39. Okay, that's my variance, and then I'm going to do my square root of my variance, 3.22. So we've got a mean of almost 15% and a standard deviation of about 3%, 3.22%. Okay? Now the question is, can you do it that fast on the test? Okay? So generally speaking, I need to write your written test, but usually I do pretty good on tomorrow's test as far as time. Thursday's test, you're all gonna, not all of you, half of you are probably gonna run out of time. Okay? It's the half that didn't practice this enough. Okay? So can you do it as fast as I just did it? Because that's about the speed you're going to need to do it. You need to know this really well. Okay? I'll give you this formula. I'll give you a whole formula sheet. In fact, I'll give you the formula sheets that we're going to use for every test for the whole semester. You'll have more information than you'll ever want. But you'll have the information. Okay? All right, what other questions do you guys have?
Is 3.4 going to be on the test?
No.
Did we already learn that same formula except for the whole population?
Yeah, the only difference between these two formulas, here, I'll stop sharing for a second so we can see. The only difference between these two formulas, they're exactly the same. Sum of xi minus mu squared f sub I all over the sum of f sub I. So there's no subtract 1 on that one. Okay? This is for the population. For the sample. Okay, so you'll just have to read it and interpret, am I dealing with a population, am I dealing with a sample? Okay, yes?
Is there like a faster way on Excel to check your work?
Okay, great question. Can you check your work on this kind of a problem? No. There is no grouped formula. Okay, you can check your work if I give you the raw data, but you can't check your work here. I will show you a common mistake that people do, okay, is they say, oh, well, I don't want to go through all that. And they'll just take a column, and it doesn't matter which column you pick. I've seen students do just about everything here. Standard deviation of the frequencies. That's off. How about the midpoints? No, that didn't work. How about the products? Yeah, all those give you the wrong answer. Okay? I've actually seen some people say, oh, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This is kind of weird. This is the wrong way to do it, by the way. I shouldn't be showing you the wrong way, but somebody will do this. they'll be like, oh, well, there's 6 11s. 1, 2, whoops. 2, here, I'll just copy them. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's 14 13s. 13. We'll copy that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then there's 10 15s. We're going to see this actually might get you a close answer, but you're not going to get very many points because it's the wrong way. Okay, this is not what I want you to do. We've got 10 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 11, 10. There's only 10 of those, right? 10 15s. We've got 4 17s. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 3 19s and 3 23s. Okay. Now this will give you a very close answer, but it won't be the same, and it's the wrong method, so you're not going to get very many points. I have seen students do this though, and then you go standard deviation of this here. It will give you a very close answer. Wow, that's really close. That's actually, wow, I'm surprised. That's actually basically the same answer. But that's the wrong method, so you're not going to get any points for that. But yeah, you can actually see that that does match that. Essentially, that's what we're doing. But you won't get any points for doing that. Maybe 1 for trying. Okay? Yes, Jay.
I was doing the variance. So when you do the deviation, can you use a square root function or not?
Yeah, you can use that. Other questions? This is my favorite question because you should know the answer, and I'm going to get a bunch of deer in the headlights, I think, here in a minute. Can you make a histogram out of this data? Who knows how to make a histogram out of the data? Only one? Everybody's hand should be in the air right now. Okay, how do you do that, Jordan?
So you make your categories from the 10 to 12 and 12 to 14.
Yeah, the categories are already made, aren't they?
Yep.
And the frequency. Should I include that total column? Should I include the total? No. Then what?
Go to insert.
Insert.
Actually, you don't do histogram, right? You go to like the charts, the bar graphs.
This one here, right?
Yeah. And then what else pushed is
So pick the first one here.
the first one.
Then you got to make a bar graph first.
Okay.
Then we alter it with quick layout. And now they're smushed. That technical term. Okay? And then how would we finish it? Axis title, what should I put for the axis title down here?
Class, I'm not sure what it is actually, class 3. What is
Yeah,
that?
these are percent returns. Okay, and this is frequency, or I would rather say number of funds. Okay? And then this is one company's distribution of returns. Something like that. Okay? Now, you know what's fun? On the next test, I'm going to ask you, how do you make a histogram? And you're going to be like, oh, I don't remember. So don't forget that. It's a really important skill, not just for this test. Okay? Now, how many of you go, oh, yeah, I knew how to do that. I really did know how to do that. I just wasn't thinking. Only one hand went up? 3? Okay? Practice, practice, practice. What other questions do you have? Okay.
The layout for the written test can be like your quizzes.
Yeah. The written test will be a lot like the quizzes, only much longer. So probably I would estimate, I'll say 20 to 30 questions. Probably more likely to do the 20 than the 30, but I don't know. Some of them are easy. So I might give you a few more. We'll see. But 20 to 30, that's a pretty good estimate. There will be, it won't be all multiple choice. There'll be some multiple choice, some show your work. So show your work. We haven't talked about box and whiskers, have we? That'll be on the next test, probably. I think we're saving that for the next test. Okay. How do you feel, Boyd? Are you confident? Or are you nervous? Are you getting there? Who feels confident? 2, 3? Who's scared to death? 2, 3? Rest of you are somewhere in the middle.
27th is Thursday,
The written test is tomorrow. The computer test is Thursday.
and they're both class.
They'll all be here. So tomorrow, since this class is really small, I'll probably make sure that everybody's nuts. There's only one person would need to move, but everybody should have a blank computer next to them. You can't do that in my other class, but I can do that here. My other class is completely full, by the way. So don't sleep in and be like, oh, I'll just go to his 9 o'clock class. No, we're going to be full. It's a full class. There won't be a seat for you. So 9 o'clock class can come to your class, but you can't go to theirs.
How will we turn in work for the computer portion of it?
How will we turn in work? So basically what I will do is I will post a spreadsheet kind of like that you've seen with the worksheets, the in-class worksheets. You'll just need to submit it. I will say this, that's a good question. Because remember, typically on the computer test, I'm going to have 4 or 5 problems. So make sure that you're looking at all the buttons here. Okay, oh, we did that anyway. So yeah, don't do the first problem and go, oh, I'm done. So 2 things. The 2 biggest problems on the first test, usually people learn after the first test, is number 1, they don't look at all the problems, so they only do the first one. So don't be that guy. Number 2, they submit a blank test. So don't submit a blank test. What I would recommend that you do is when you save the file, save it with your name. You know, Sam Smith test 1 or whatever your name is. Okay? Then make sure you upload that to Canvas. Now, if you get done early, I can check and I can see if you uploaded either a blank test or whatever. So for those, yeah, so that's easy for me to do. The problem is when half of you aren't done, I can't check everybody because we're going to have to be getting you out of here so that my next class takes up every computer. Got 30. So I'll need to scurry you out. And so if you all come up at the last minute, I can't check. I'll be like, hope you did it. Okay? So make sure that you upload not the blank test, because that has happened. It always happens 1 or 2 times, especially on the first test. Either people only do the first problem or they upload a blank test, which sucks. I can only grade what you submit. So, but yeah, if you get done early, I can check and say, yes, it looks good. Yes.
Well, the computer section have a little bit more instructions as far as what you want. Like on the, just looking through some of these topics.
Yeah.
Like for collision or collision, It's just kind of hard to tell what you want from just that. And so will there be more instructions on how to put that?
Yeah, there will be. So yeah, it should be good. So occasionally, I will tell you this happened one time. Sometimes I make a mistake on the test. There was a student who took it in the testing center, so it was like test 3 or something. And I said, the following information was given for the lottery in Minnesota. And then there was no data there. And so he got out Google and he put lottery in Minnesota, and then they were like, cheater! So don't do that. If that happens to you, usually that happens to the first person. He was okay, but I understood it was my fault. But if that happens, there's no data, let the testing center know. Call me, or well, either call me immediately after the test and say, hey, I tried to do a computer test and problem 3 didn't have any data, because I make mistakes. And I'll probably, in his case, I just threw it out and I didn't count it again, for or against him. But yeah, it's been known to happen. But I'd like the rest of the people to do the proper thing. So I will fix the test for the rest of the people. But yeah, so. Any other questions that you guys have? Could you make a histogram? So here, since Jay mentioned the collision, this isn't what the question is going to be, but out of that data there, could you create a histogram out of it? Would you know how? Because that's the other thing. Can I show you the wrong way to create a histogram? Okay, somebody's going to do this. So it's on video. This is what not to do. You're going to highlight your data just like that. You're going to go insert, recommended charts, all charts. Oh, there's a histogram maker. That's the wrong method. For one thing, how many categories are there? 3. How many are there supposed to be? 5 to 7. Okay, I'd probably go with 5 on this one because it was a small data set. So the histogram maker sucks on small data sets. So how do you do this properly? That's the improper method. And how many points will you get if you use the improper method? None. Carla, do you know? I can't hear you.
Maybe the same way we did it before, like insert but then like modify it. I don't know.
No, we're not going to do
I
any
think
more.
it's better.
Do we need to sort it so that we can?
Sorting it is
category?
Yeah, so let me just say this. When you're doing a histogram, sorting it is useful. There are other times when sorting it will mess up your data. So you need to know when to sort it and when not to, but yes, you can sort it. So we'll sort it. We go from 180 to 21,000. Okay? Now what? If we're going to get 5 categories out of this, what should my groups be? I can't hear you.
4 entries per group.
4 entries per group. What do you mean by that?
So the first 4 values are groups.
Oh, no. Okay, that's a good guess, though. He said the first 4 are a group, the second 4 are a group. That is actually wrong because why? They have to be equally sized groups. And so if you're just picking them that way, they will guaranteed not be.
We do like between 0 and 5,000 and then 5,000 and 10,000.
Okay, so you're on the right track. 0 to 5,000 and then 5,000 to 10,000. What's wrong with what he just said? If I get the value 5,000, which group does it go in? Can't tell, right? So rather than go 0 to 5,000, how about if I went 0 to 49.99 and 5,000 to 99.99 and 10,000 to 14.999, 15,000 to 19.999, and 20,000 to 24.999. Okay? All of your groups have to be equally sized. It's a good thing we're reviewing this, or you'd all miss this. Okay? All right, so that's 5 groups. Or maybe I should put cost of repair. Okay, and then what? Count them up. Okay, so count. Okay, so 0 to 5,000. Oh, I've got most of them. 14. And then 5 to 9, I've got 2. And then 15 to 19, I have 0. No, 10 to 14. Oh wait, I've got 1 here, 0 and 1. Okay? Now, Carla, how do I make this? Highlight my new table here. Insert
And then the grabs,
the bar chart. Okay.
we want to modify it.
Want to multiply it?
Okay.
What did you say? I can't hear you.
To modify it. We want to.
Modify it. Okay, quick layout. Make them touch. Okay? How would you describe that graph if we're out of time now? How would you describe that if I labeled it properly? Is it left skewed or right skewed? Right skewed, right? Okay? You go from the peak, your tail on the right side is bigger. There is no tail on the left. Okay? All right then. You gonna ace my test? I can tell some of you really need to study tonight. Okay? All right, so see you all tomorrow. Would you like a copy of this? Up on, here, I'm gonna erase that because that's the wrong method. You'd like a copy of this for your review? Okay. All right, see y'all tomorrow. Good luck.